Hi guys, and welcome to this Bootstrap video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, we're going to start a series of videos here today. We're going to be doing some Bootstrap for hover effects. And today we've got a simple image to text hover effect for you. You see these a lot on websites. Really easy to do with a bit of custom CSS. Any CSS I write today I'll put below the video. If you want to work with the same source files as me, I'll put a link to a page where you can download the zip file. Once you've downloaded the zip file, if you want all the code, simply extract it and it'll give you the image and the index.html file that I've been working with. Okay, let's get started. I've got my brackets text editor up here. I've got a blank Bootstrap template. It's got a menu, that's about all there is to it. If I go to my folder and double click on the index.html, it'll open up. This is what we've got at the moment. And if you need a text editor, I'll put this brackets link down below. It's absolutely free and it's an awesome text editor. So the first thing I want to do is create a container with a row in it. So I'm going to create a div, the class of container. And inside that div, I want to add another div with the class of row, because we're going to make a row of 3 columns. That's entirely up to you what size row you make, but that's what I'm going to use today. So I'm going to create a div with the class of row. And inside that div, we've got to create our column, or at least our first column. So another div with a class, and we'll make it col extra small. We'll say 12, which will fill out the screen, make it basically 1 unit on the screen there. Let's make that into a little C right there. And I'm going to copy this a few times, Control-C to copy. This will make it responsive for us once I fill these out correctly. So we'll say column small on small devices. I want that to be 12 as well, so each little overlay will take up the whole screen on small devices. On medium devices, I'm going to make it 4. Now, everything with Bootstrap has to add up to 12. So if I make a column that's going to be 12, it'll be full width on XL and small devices. If I make it a column of 4, 3 4s are 12, there'll be 3 columns on medium devices, and on large devices I'll keep that the same, 4. Okay, well that should give us 3 columns on large devices, and we're doing on a desktop today. That's great. So there's our first column right there. Okay, and inside our column, I'm going to give it a bit of space so we can add some margin and padding. So I'll do another div. I'm going to give it the class. I'll call this column 1, seeing as this is our first column. And I'm going to use some Bootstrap 4 classes here. I want to make sure there's no padding, so I'm going to say P0. I want to make sure we've got a bit of margin to separate these columns, so I'm going to say M equals 3, margin equals 3. And those are 2 styles, padding and margin go from 0 to 5, 0 being the smallest, 5 being the largest. You can adjust things and play with them how you wish. Okay, that's great, got that div. And inside this div, we're going to have our content. So this is where we're going to have to start writing some CSS in a moment. Just tidy that up there. Okay, so we've got a row, we've got our first column in it. If I save this, you won't see any different. Control S to save with brackets, and we'll go back and refresh. You won't see anything different there because there's nothing in the columns, but we've actually got a column right there. So let's put something in this column. And to do that, here's the root folder. I've put 3 images in there. If I change the view on this, and they're called BG1, it's a JPEG file, 2 and 3, and there's the index.html document, which is what we're working on right here. So we've given this a name now. We've called this column 1, so we can give it a background. I'll put this style on the page for ease of use today. Like I say, the CSS I'll put down below this video, but the actual HTML, you'll have to go over to my site and download that if you want all of the source files, because I can't put that down below YouTube video. Okay, and we're going to put it in the head up here, right under our default Bootstrap style list. So I've got to open some style tags. There we go. We've got open and closing style there, and in between we can write our on-page CSS here. Okay, the first thing I want is to target that column, and it was called col1. There it is right there, col1. That's the class name. So we need to give the class name. All class names have to have a dot or a period in front of them. So dot col1. Open and close some curly brackets, and inside we can target it with some CSS. Now I want to put my image bg1.jpg as the background there, and for anybody that's interested, I've made mine 500 by 500 pixels, so they're not particularly big. So we're going to say background image dash image colon, and we want to tell it where they are, which is a URL, basically URL. Open and close some round brackets. As you can see, it prompts us down here. It's already found those images because they're in the root folder, the same one as our index.html. So I'm going to select that one. Great. I don't want it to repeat, so semicolon, drop down one. And we're going to say background repeat, colon, none, semicolon. And I want it to cover the available area. So again, we're going to say background size, colon, cover, semicolon. So we've got a column and we've got our background in there, but if we save this and go back, we're still not going to see anything because there's no content to give our column any depth. So let's do that next. Go back to our brackets. And inside our column here, let's create a new div. And we'll give this the class. I'm going to call it hovtxt for hovtxt. hovtxt, whatever you want. You can call yours whatever you want as long as it's unique and it's going to make some sense to you. Now we'll drop this down. And inside here, we can put in what we want. So I think I'll start by putting a heading in here. So let's do an H3, heading 3. Headings go from 1 to 6, 6 being the smallest, 1 being the largest. And let's put in a title. I would say my heading. And below that we'll put some paragraph text. And I'm going to use some dummy text, some lorem ipsum text, just to put something in there. There we go. So we've got a heading and we've got some paragraph text below it. Now if we save this, we should see something on our site. Let's refresh this. Okay, now we can see we've got that image in the background, we got some text over the top of it. I'm going to push this down a bit so we've got a bit of space there, and I might change that writing to white so we can see it a bit better, and I think I'll put it in the center as well. So let's go ahead and do that. So for my container here, I'm just going to put a bit of style after here just to push it down from the top. I could create this in the CSS for every container that I make, but for today I'm just going to do it as inline here, style equals. I'm just going to add 150 pics to that at the top, padding top, 150 pics, and that'll push it down so we can see it nicely. Just save that, Control S, back to the site and refresh. There we go. We've got a nice bit of space there. So we've got this. Let's make that writing white. We'll put it in the middle and we'll add a bit of padding all around to center it a little bit. And we can do all this with some good old Bootstrap 4 classes right on the div itself, our div class hovtxt. So I'm going to say padding 5, which will give it the maximum amount of padding around it. I want to make that text center. And I also want that writing to be white, so I'm going to say text light. One of the great things about Bootstrap is it's got these great classes you can apply. So let's save that. Now the writing should have turned right. We'll have more space in there. There it is. It's turned light. It's in the middle, just how we want it. But to me, I'm still having a bit of trouble reading that writing over this busy picture here. So we could put an overlay or a color in the back of our actual module here. So let's do that. So we'll go up to our style and we've got to target our hovtxt because that's the class we gave it. So we'll drop down and I'll give this a title. I'll give the columns a title in a minute, just so it makes it easier if you write a lot of CSS to find these things. It's a good idea to give them a title. / */ anything written in between will not be read as code, so it's great for notes and titles. So I'll say image to text, which is what this is going to be on hover. Down below, I want to put that class name in. Remember, it's a class name, so you have a dot or a period, then the class name. And I want to give it a background color. So I'm going to say background. I'm going to make it black, which is 000, a hex number. There should be 6 of them, but when they're all the same, you just have to put in 3. Let's save this and we'll go back. Now when I refresh, that should be black and we won't be able to see the image. There we go. But I want to be able to see some of the image behind it, and we can do that by making this black a little opaque. So let's add the other 3 zeros for a full black there. And right after that, you can add 2 numbers from 00 to 99, which will decide on the amount of opacity. I'm going to make it sort of 80%. So that's 80% color. So I've added the 80 on there. Save that again. And when we refresh, we should be able to see plenty of that image behind. There it is. But our writing is very easy to see too. Okay, the next thing is I don't want to see this thing at all until we hover over it. I just want to see the image. So let's make that happen. And again, we'll do that with CSS. So I'm going to say opacity, or see-throughness, that is, 0. 0 is totally invisible. 1 is totally visible. And you can increment it up, 0.1, 0.1.5, 0.5, all the way up, different transparencies all the way up. Great. Save that. That should have disappeared now. Yep, that's great. But we want to see it when we roll our mouse over it like this. So let's create a hover state for it. I'm going to copy the whole of this hover text and the curly brackets. I'm going to drop down a couple. I'm going to paste it there. Right after the T of hovtxt right there with no gap, I'm going to put a colon and the word hover. And make sure you don't put any gaps in there. So it's the class name, no gap, colon, and then no gap, the word hover. I can take that background away because that's not going to change. But I'm going to change the opacity now to 1, which is fully visible. Now if I save that, we go back, refresh. When I hover over it, bang, in comes our writing and our overlay. That's great, but to me that's kind of happening a little too quick. So I like for drama to slow these things down, and I like to use an ease in, ease out. So when you let it go, it eases out. When you put it on, it sort of eases in. So let's do that. Another bit of CSS right here. first thing I want to do is slow the whole thing down. So in our regular, not the hover state, in the regular state, let's write transition. And it's prompted us down the bottom there, transition duration. And we can give it a time. I'm going to make mine fairly long, 1.2 seconds. If you want to make yours 0.1 seconds, 0.2 seconds, just put in whatever timing you want there. And I want to add a transition timing function that I like to use, which is ease in, ease out. And there it is right there. It's prompted us again. Ease in, ease out. That's the one I like to use here. Another good thing about the free brackets text editor, it does prompt you to put these things in, which makes life a lot quicker. Great. So let's save that. And we'll go back and we'll refresh. There we go. That's a lot more gradual. It's not happening quite such a crazy manner. So we've really done our first one there, and duplicating this couldn't be easier. So what I'll do is go down, and we can just, here's the actual column 1. Let's just tidy this little bit up here. Put a space. With brackets, if you hit the opening div, it will show you the closing div. Here's the opening div for the first column there. Let's just tidy that up again. So there's our first column. I want to copy the whole of the first column from opening div to closing div. I'm going to copy it twice because I've made it 4 on desktop like that. The number 4, there'll be 3 of them. So I'll put 3 of them in there for the whole of the column. If I save that now, refresh, we got 3, but they're all the same. So we can just go ahead and change the images in those to make them different. And if you remember, I had 3 background images. We're using BG1, so I need to change to 2 and 3 for the other columns. To do that, let's go up to our CSS up here. Here's our column 1. I'm going to copy this twice. Drop down, and I'm going to change the second one to 2, or whichever image you like to put in yours, and the third one to 3. I want to change that to 2. I want to change that to 3. We need to go down to our HTML now, make sure we've changed the column numbers. There's the original column 1. Here's the duplicate, so I want to change that to 2 so it knows to put the new image in there, and to 3 right here. Now if we save, Control S, we'll go back. There we go, we've got 3 different images. Now one issue you might come across if you're doing this, let's go back and change the amount of text that I've actually got in these here, because they've all got the same, which means they're all going to be the same height. But if I change the amount of text, for instance, let's take off some of this. And let's add on a little bit to this one. Control S to save. We'll go back. Now when I refresh, they're different heights because we've got different amounts in there, and to me that doesn't look very good. I'd like them all to be the same height. So to make them all the same height, I'm guessing 1, 2, 3 or 320 would be enough to fit all this text in. We can give them a height attribute in the CSS2 in our columns. So if we go back to our CSS at the top here, we want to work on our hovtxt box here. So I'm going to add another one. I'm just going to say height. And let's try 300. We can always make it bigger if it doesn't fit everything in there. Control S to save. We'll go back. Now when I refresh, they're all the same height again. That fits fine. That's fine up there. That fits fine on there too. So that's if you want them all the same height, which is probably a good idea. Okay, one last thing, we're just a little bit more housekeeping right here. I'm going to add a title to our columns text up here. And like I say, I'll put all the CSS down below the video here, but the HTML, if you want all of it, you'll have to go to my webpage and download the zip file. Okay, I'll just give this a title of an image column. So it's / / title inside. And then every time you add a text module, you can give it that class. If you want to add an image to your column, just give it a name and do it like this. So let's save this, go back to the site, and we're done. Nothing's changed here. So there you go, guys. There's how to do a simple image to text hover effect with Bootstrap 4. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, comment, ring the bell, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.